Welcome back to another episode of the Scran line. I'm Nick. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make my Christmas wreath cake. Now the best part about making this cake is how much fun you actually have decorating it. I learned a whole bunch of frosting techniques I didn't even know before I made this cake. Before we get stuck into today's video, a lot of you lovely people watching this right now are not actually subscribed to me, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and there's a little bell icon next to it. Hit that so YouTube notifies you as soon as there's a new video. Let's start off by making the cake. So we're gonna add our flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt into a large mixing bowl. Now I get a lot of questions about the salt that I use. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. It makes no difference which salt you use as long as it's a fine salt. I just use the pink one so you guys can more easily see in the videos. Once you've combined that, you're going to add your butter and mix that until you reach a crumbly, sand-like texture. Next, we're going to add our eggs, milk, oil, yogurt, vanilla extract, some peppermint extract, and we're going to mix that until it's well combined. We're going to be making two different colored batters for this cake. We're going to be making one red one and we're going to leave the other one plain vanilla white. So for the red one, you want to split them into two separate bowls and color one using red food gel and mix that until it's evenly colored. I'm going to be making this in an angel food cake tin, but alternatively you can use a bundt tin. I just couldn't find one in time for this recipe, so I'm going to be using this. Now I've actually sprayed the entire tin with oil spray really well because I don't want my cake sticking to the inside of the tin, and I've also lined the bottom with some baking paper. I've popped my two different batters into piping bags and I'm going to drizzle them into the cake tin. Once I've drizzled them, I'm going to pop this in the oven and bake it for about 60 minutes. My cakes bake on a slower, lower temperature, that way they don't caramelize too much. So once it is finished baking, you want to let this cool down completely. I actually bake this the day before I decorate it because I like to pop it in the fridge so that it makes it easier while I'm decorating and putting it all together. Now you can see because of that extra oil spray and the baking paper at the bottom, our cake came out of the tin really easily. We're going to separate it completely from the middle of the tin. If you're having a little bit of trouble with this, just use like a sharp knife to cut around the inside of where that donut hole is. Now guys, if you don't have a bundt cake tin or an angel food cake tin, you can just use a regular one and just cut out a hole in the middle. It does basically the same thing, and I probably should have just done that in hindsight. Now I want the top of this cake and the bottom to be flat, so I'm going to use a cake leveler to trim the top off. It looks like it's an excess of waste, but you can actually freeze this and use it for cake pops if you like. Let's move on to prepping our buttercream frosting. So we're going to be coloring it a different shades of colors and all of that good stuff. So the first one we want to do is actually the pink frosting. I don't know why I chose pink frosting, I just like that color. So we're going to be crumb coating and filling this cake with pink frosting. Once you've colored that pink frosting, we're also going to be coloring some of the frosting different shades of green, and that is going to be what we're going to be using on the outside of this cake. I'm piping a ring of frosting on top of an 8-inch cake board, and we are going to pop the cake on top of that. That frosting is going to help it stick to the cake board. We are going to actually not be filling this cake because there's only one cake. There's no layers in this cake. You can have layers if you like, but we're just going to be crumb coating this cake with that pink frosting. And you want to use a spatula to spread it around. Then you can optionally use a cake scraper to thin it out and kind of even it out. I'm a perfectionist, so I like to get it nice and neat, but this is just a crumb coat, and it's all about trapping the crumbs in the first layer of frosting so they don't show on the final layer. Once you've got that looking great and you're happy with it, rough or perfect like me, you're gonna pop it in the fridge and we're going to let it chill for about an hour or two ideally before we move on to decorating the cake. The final layer of frosting is going to be green. Now you can use any of the shades. I've got the full list of color combinations in the written recipe, which is on my website. And guys, by the way, there's a massive revamp going on my website. I know a lot of you are emailing saying, Nick, I can't find this recipe. What is going on? The recipes, the website's not working. It's because I'm completely building a new website. I need a new website because there's a lot of features missing on the current website that I can't get. So I need to rebuild it on a different platform, and it's just a much bigger job than what I thought. You know, when you're like, okay, today I'm gonna clean the cupboard, and you start cleaning it. It's like, oh my God, this is taking all day. This one is taking months, the website. So please hang in there. The website is coming. All of the recipes will be back up soon. But in the meantime, if you're after a recipe, email me and I will email it back to you guys. Now for the outside of this cake, I have fitted the end of a piping bag with a grass tip, and I'm gonna be piping some grass frosting on the outside of this cake. I don't know why I chose this, but I just did. I kind of made this cake up as I went along. For the top, we're going to be piping different kinds of like leaves and flowers. I'm using leaf tips and I'm using small round tips. Again, if you're after exactly what I used in this video for all of this decorating on the top, I've got it in the written recipe. So exactly what I used is in the written recipe, so you can make it exactly the same if you like. Once you've got it looking the way that you want, you can add some colored sprinkles on top to kind of add like that kind of Christmassy colored fairy light look. And this is my favorite part of this cake, guys. I'm using this flat piping tip. I don't remember what it's called. I'll put it on screen. But it is what we're going to use to be making the bow. So we're going to be making some red frosting as well. And for the bow, this is how we're going to pipe it. So we're going to add a bow on one side, a bow on the other side, then that bit in the middle, and some ribbons at the bottom to finish it off. And guys, that is my Christmas tree wreath cake. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, and thank you so much for watching. If you're not following me on social media, make sure you're following me on all of my social media platforms. And I will see you guys in my next episode of the Scran Line. Bye.